I've been living in the French city of Lyon for the last 5 years. I came back this summer. Uh, when I went there before, I knew that Lyon has a great public transport system because I work with public transport. What I didn't know and what I learned after these 5 years is that they have a good strategy on all, not only public transport, but all sustainable mobility planning. And perhaps you think, okay, Lyon, perhaps they have a long tradition on working on sustainability planning. But in the 60s and 70s, this man, his name is Louis Pradel, he was the mayor of Lyon. He was also called Louis Béton. Louis Concrete, because he loved big infrastructural projects. He also loved his country, France, so he never went abroad, just once. Then he went to LA. So he came back from LA and said, this is just fantastic. They have highways everywhere on beton pillars. This is what I want for Lyon. I want to make Lyon the LA of Europe. So they didn't have this thinking. So one of his big projects was to take this road, this highway, it's A7 from Paris to Marseille, and it was on his initiative, it's more or less crossing through Lyon. So this investment and other investments for the car traffic made a very bad situation in Lyon. They got problems, more and more problems in the 80s and 90s with air pollution, with noise pollution, congestion. We heard about it before, people just sitting in their cars. So the next politicians, the next mayors in the 90s said, we have to change this because Lyon is turning into a not very attractive city because if people are sitting in congestions, that's a lot of time, and time is money. And there will be a problem, nobody wants to invest in this city. So they started a big program. They created the Métropole Intelligente, that means the intelligent metropolitan area, the smart city. So the city tried to think about mobility as a service. Doesn't matter what transport mode you use. It should be, of course, sustainable, or it can also be the private car, but you should share it in time or space. But it's the service we should offer. And they wanted to answer some questions. How can we rebalance the public space and create an attractive city for people, and also make people in our city and visitors choose sustainable alternatives on their own. It should be their own choice. And the solution was, of course, to first offer a range of possible alternatives, sustainable alternatives, make them well-known and accessible, so that you choose that the inhabitants can choose these alternatives on their own. And how do we do it? The key to success is to set up real-time information and use on smartphones and other IoT solutions. I met one of the politicians who is still the driving force of this creation of the smart city. And he says digital information is the fuel of mobility. So some transport sociologists say that information about mobility, that's half of the mobility. And the car, in the end, it will just become an accessory to the smartphone. It's just, the car is, you see, you want to go from A to B, and okay, this time it's the car. I share a car with someone, or like carpooling or car sharing, or it's something else, or I take a bike, bike sharing, etc. They in Lyon, they have like a smorgasbord of sustainable alternatives. As I said before, I already knew that they have an impressive public transport system, and that's really the case. So if you want to see good public transport, then you go to Lyon. This is a base. They have all modes, as you can think about. They have the subway, tramway, trolley bus. I don't know if it's a bus with a overhead wire. Normal buses, of course, although they are more and more trying to transform the buses on diesel to trolley buses, and also to funicular, going up a hill in Lyon, because it's a very hilly city. They talk a lot about shared mobility. So we have a bike sharing scheme, a carpooling scheme, a car sharing scheme, and now also a feeder service with electric driverless vehicles that is feeding the public transport system. We have intermodality, so there are always, in bigger stations and hubs, there are always a possibility to you walk out from the station, and you have your car sharing, you have your bike sharing, you have everything there. It should be easy and accessible. And the digital information. In Lyon, you can have, on your smartphone, you have an application called Optimod, where you have all the different sustainable alternatives, where you can look in real time. Okay, today I want to go from this street to another street, and in this Optimod, you see public transport, car sharing, bike sharing. I will go into that further, etc. Carpooling in one. And of course, you have also applications for each of them. But Optimod is gives the total picture. And as I said, when I talked to this politician, he was very, very engaged. So this is the only thing he's doing. I had the feeling that the city is always looking for new solutions. And as Peter said before, they work a lot in public-private partnerships. They work a lot with innovative solutions, trials that they are trying to find solutions all the time. And if we look into it in detail, we have this Optimod, this travel planner in your pocket. So here you see on the left side, you can click if you want to see the public transport, bike or walking, and they're also now they've developed so you can also look at the airplane. But of course, if you go local, you don't need to use the airplane. So if we look, for instance, at the bike map, then you see here all stations with the bike sharing system called Vélav. Vélo, that's the name for bike in French. And here you see which stations have available bikes and which only some or none. And you have, as I said, this also on just as an application on your smartphone. And when we're talking about sharing, there's the car sharing scheme Bluely, only electrical cars. It's an impressive technology in all parts to make everything accessible, easy accessible for the users. How to subscribe, how to find a car, how to book a car, how to find a parking space, because there's an onboard computer, so you can find a parking space which is dedicated to the car sharing scheme. And of course, this is, as I said, we showed before, it's connected to the Optimod Lyon. And this is a private company working together with the Métropole of Lyon. So Lyon, they for instance, they have the dedicated parking spaces. But it's a private company, Bluely, who's providing this service. But it's a partnership, very close partnership. The same is with the bike sharing scheme, Velov. Vélo, that's the French word for bike, and love is love. So the love for bikes. It's one of the first bike sharing schemes in the world. It was founded in 2005. Now they have 4,000 bikes, and as you could see on the map before in Optimod, there are bike stations everywhere. You go out of the bus or of the metro, and you have them everywhere. Today, 4,000 bikes, 64,000 subscribers, and you have real-time information in an application where you can find a bike, where if there's a parking space for your bike, etc. etc. And you combine the public transport, of course, the public transport smart card, with your subscription for your bike sharing scheme. And this is also integrated in the Optimod. And I go back, because now I just read that there's been an increase of bikers or bike travel by 400% since the last 10 years. And next year they're going to provide electrical bikes because of the hilly environment of Lyon. So they're all the time trying to find new solutions. This is a trial that's just finished. It's called FlexiCov. That's a carpooling in real time. It's a bit like Uber. You offer or search a carpooling possibility. Also private-public partnership. And then the latest innovation, it's called Navly, and it's in an area called Confluence, which a bit like Bonolet in Malmö, it was an industrial area, a harbor area, where the two rivers of Saône and Rhône, they are coming together. So this is a really interesting area, low energy area, innovative area. There are two of these vehicles that are electrical and driverless on a little 1.35 kilometers route in this area. It's a feeder service because through this area, of course, there's good public transport. There's a tramway going every 5 or 10 minutes. But this is like covering the last mile, so that you don't take the car because, oh no, I don't want to walk from the tram station to the tram stop to my work or home. As I said, electrical and driverless, and this is a trial. It just started this summer, but it's going to be long term. And is this then a success, all these efforts? Well, the numbers of cars entering the city has decreased by 20% the last decade. And estimation says that Lyon is going to grow 10%, but they have still the goal to targeting a further drop of 20% in car use. And again, I go back to the politician who is so engaged in this, and he says that sharing is the new paradigm of urban mobility. Tomorrow, you will judge a city according to what it's adding to sharing. So the more that we have people sharing, transportation, information, public space, new services, the more attractive the city will be. And my last slide shows the banks of Rhône, one of the rivers through Lyon. When I came here 5 years ago, this was all a car park. And it was like this. The car parks were all along the banks of Rhône and Saône. There are two rivers. And now it's human parks. They've taken away all car parks. And now you can, you can stroll along. There are pedestrian zones. There are or paths and bicycle paths all along the beautiful river. And it's an amazing change, which we hope will continue. Thank you very much.
It's really inspiring to look at this. I mean, you would say that that wouldn't be any problems for any other cities to do this. Could I just ask you, do you know who took the initiative to the private-public partnership? Who is the driving force in those?
Well, that was the city of Lyon, and as I said, it's the metropolitan of Lyon, because there are 73 small municipalities around Lyon, about 2 million inhabitants, and it was from the political side. Yes, exactly. Yep. And there are some politicians really pushing this, and now I suppose that was in the beginning, and then now I suppose there is a driving force also from the market side.
Yeah. Seeing the opportunity to make business.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So I bring that back to Lund. I can learn. Do you have any questions? Yes, over there. And we have one over there.
Hello, Johan Birkfeldt from Sensitive Upstairs. Very impressive, I must say. I'm just thinking all the investments that have gone into this and the return. Has that been measured somehow, and what is the outcome?
Yes, that's a good question. I don't have any figures, but I have the feeling that they're really it's worth it, so to say. I don't think that they would continue if they didn't have a success. But it's a good question about the figures, but I can't answer that now. I look at the the mobility figures.
Yeah. But it's an interesting question, because again, how do you value when you get better air and people live better, longer?
Yeah.
I think we had
Lyon is one of the. I mean, all France is in a recession, and Lyon is one of the regions that hasn't been hit that badly. So I think, as this politician said, with an attractive city, of course, attractive for the inhabitants, but also for business.
Yeah.
And I think that's hand in hand. If
and
people are not
harder
sitting
because they can breathe.
You know. Yeah, exactly. You have to. Yes.
Hello.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, can't hear. Anna Sinclair, Sony Mobile. Very inspiring. I'm just wondering how these services funded.
Yes, it's, as I said, it's a public-private partnership often. So of course it's funded a lot from the public. But I mean the investments in like Optimod was also something that a private company developed and then together with the Lyon, but it was they're rather strict there, the politicians, that they say it's the private business who is actually paying for the development, and the same with Bluely. I mean, of course it's the public who's offering space for car parks, etc. But that's I mean, for the car sharing company, it's fantastic to have free car parks. So I mean that really boosts their market.
I have one last question. Just here you go.
Kent-Erik Long, Victoria Swedish ICT. And I'm going along this question about how do you control car sharing and the free-floating carpooling? Because the city has a very strong role in providing the parking spaces and also limiting this. You know that Car2Go has left Copenhagen and Stockholm, and they are very successful in Berlin, Paris, and Madrid. So what is the situation here? Is it a monopoly, or is the city sourcing several car-sharing companies? Or are they managing the parking places and make it available for several car sharing companies.
Actually-
This could be an open
Yeah.
innovation space.
True. There is actually another car sharing company, but the Blue. So it's open for them as well. But the Bluely is, as it is electrical cars, it seems that also the market is more interested in that innovation, and also that I have the feeling that Bluely is more the information, and also how you book a car, and how they're more top notch when coming to digital information. So it's that market is they have a much higher market share than the other.
We need to stop here. I think you are here also for the mingle. I think this is a very interesting question, and hopefully to bring further within the members of Mobile Heights. So let's continue the discussions, but leave it at that. So thank you again very much.
You're
A big
welcome.
applause.